Yo, what's going on, guys? Jay here, and today we got a new episode of the Talking Hip Hop show where I got a tier list for you. Very fun tier list we're doing today. Complex magazine came out with their top 50 best albums of the 21st century, from Jay-Z's The Blueprint to Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy to Rihanna's Anti. These are the best albums since 2000. Now, instead of doing the basic reaction to this list, looking at the placement, and being like, oh, this shouldn't be here, oh, wow, what a great placement, I just got together the 50 albums that are even on this list, and I put them into a tier list, which I'm going to do with you, so you guys can see my opinion on some of these albums. If you want to see Complex's rankings of these albums, I will link the list if you have not seen it already, because honestly, once you get narrowing down a list like this, I don't think the actual order of the top 50 matters particularly, because we're talking about the best album of the last 25 years. You know what I mean? So this is an album you would expect to be filled chock full of incredible album experience. Now, I will say, based on seeing this list myself, it is definitely very much rooted in the impact of some of these albums and the influence of these albums. But I thought it'd be fun to give my own opinion on these projects instead of the ranking itself. Like I said, if you do want to check this out, I will be linking it. And I also want to thank everybody, whether it's your first time watching or if you've been watching, since 2023. Thank you for tuning in today. I appreciate you coming here, checking out what I got to say. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. Stuff like that really does go a long way in helping me out, any type of engagement, and I do appreciate that a lot. But anyways, let's get it started. Moving on over to this tier list. Boom. Here are the top 50 albums of the 21st century according to Complex. You can see them all right here. I'll let you take a brief look, take everything in. Again, I'm sure you could tell off rip. Yeah, this is a list based on impact, based on influence, based on popular sounds that dominated the airwaves in the Big 25, or in the last 25 years. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think this list is actually really good for what it is and what it's trying to do. I didn't expect them to have, a bunch of underground classics and to really get the best albums of the last 25 years. No Forever Story here. You know what I'm saying? They got a lot of ground to cover, so it makes a lot of sense that they did it this way. But let's get it started. We got The House of Balloons by The Weeknd. Now, this is one of The Weeknd's best projects. I don't think, at least for me personally, I like it as much as some of his newer amazing albums, talking about Dawn FM, After Hours, Hurry Up Tomorrow. I don't know if House of Balloons is on the same level as some of those projects, but it doesn't quite scratch the highs and the quality sector for me. But this is still no doubt a great project. It is super gritty, super raw, and that's something that I really like about it. It is a very intoxicating project to listen to. Now, I don't know if it would place on if I did my 50 best albums of the 21st century, but it is an A-tier album, no doubt. And just to go through the actual rankings itself, because keep in mind, we're talking about albums in the context of them being top 50 of the 2000s so far. So you might see the C is like I got some numbers listed off of where I rank these albums in terms of score for them. So C, you could see an 8 out of 10 at the top of C and be like, what the fuck? Why would that be a C? It's because there realistically should be no albums on this list that are even below the A tier level, to be honest, in terms of score wise. But it's just to kind of refrain from putting everything into the S and A tiers, to split it up and actually get some ranking going on. And you can see right here the scores I'm choosing to rank based off of. Next up, we got Stankonia by Outkast. I've listened to this album for the first time. Not for the first time, but for the first time in a long while recently altogether. And this album, it's really awesome. I see why it places on a list like this. And man, because this is an album that is honestly like very good quality wise. honestly really amazing quality-wise, but it does not, for me personally at least, really inspire me to come back and revisit it a lot. Not that that's the only thing that matters, but I'm stuck between a top of B, bottom of A type of situation. I think for now I'll go bottom of A, but I might end up splitting this up a little bit as we add more albums. DS2 by Future. This is one of the defining albums of the 2000s of the last 25 years in terms of influence, in terms of how it affected the sound and direction that popular hip hop, popular music in general was going in. I mean, this really, not that we don't have other influential trap albums, but this really became the blueprint for that sound. And I think it's hard not to put it in A tier. Next up, we got Yeezus by Kanye. Kanye being one of the only rappers to have more than 2 placements on this list, I think is a little rich. Because personally, Yeezus would not even be in contention for this list for me. I do love Yeezus. It's one of my favorite Kanye albums. I think it's a great album. But top 50 of the last 25 years. To put that in perspective, that's on average going to be the top 2 best albums of every year. If it was to be averaged out. Now, obviously, there might be some years that don't have any album representation, some years that have more than 2, based on the quality of music coming out in those years. But yeah, Yeezus is not quite making the cut for me. Same for Whole Lotta Red, although I'm not surprised and I understand why they have it on this list. Whole Lotta Red was actually 15th on the list, too. I mean, clearly, Complex is one of those outlets that is gonna, do that for Cardi, that is gonna give him that type of ranking. Now you can see right here for me, not one of the best, wouldn't make that list for me, but again, influence, impact wise, I get it. SOS is another album where, again, I think if I'm coming from Complex's perspective, the influence, the impact, importance, relevance, all this stuff, which clearly they factored in a lot more than quality of music, and I think for a list like this, like the best albums of the 21st century, I mean, I would say if we were doing greatest albums of the 21st century, it'd make more sense, just because to me, greatest and best is a little different. It's my opinion. Greatest is factoring in these things: magnitude, relevance, influence, stuff like that is clearly factored in here, where best is more so just straight quality. Now, SOS, if we're talking straight quality, is not even the best SZA album, but again, based on how this list seems to be structured, totally makes sense. I think it's a great pick, and it's an amazing album that I love. Now, again, it's not quite touching this upper echelon of, like, once you get into a 9 out of 10, we're really talking like an all-time great album. So it's not quite hitting that for me. But maybe my most replayed album of these 6 we got ranked up so far. Next up, Lemonade by Beyonce. Haven't heard this in full. Let me knock out a couple more of those. The Bad Bunny album they got on here. No disrespect to Bad Bunny. I just have not heard this album in full either. Voodoo by D'Angelo, rest in peace. I have not heard this album in full, but it is on my list to take down. Born to Die by Lana Del Rey. I've heard a couple of tracks from. I like Lana Del Rey. She's a cool artist. Very much has her own sound going for her, which I respect, but I have not heard that album in full either. Next up, Supreme Clientele by Ghostface Killah. I think this album, again, this is one that would be tight for my personal list. If I was doing this, it would be close for a top 50. I think it would probably make it onto there. I think it deserves a spot on here. Very important hip-hop album, especially for the time it came out. Very luxurious, but also still kind of left field production from the RZA. Ghostface does the best rapping of his career on here. And honestly, it's an amazing album, one of the best of the early 2000s. The Eminem Show, everything I just said about Ghostface Killah's Supreme Clientele applies to the Eminem Show as well. I mean, that album is also just straight up classic. Has songs that are still played even decades after it came out. Was extremely successful. Is the best album from the artist who made it. So, Yeah, and again, if my personal list, both of these are likely cracking that the Eminem Show for sure. Now we move on to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Mind you that this is the #1 album for Complex. They rank this at #1. I believe the Eminem Show was, I forget where it was. Now, a lot of people might expect me to go right up here with it because Complex had it #1, and a lot of people think of this as one of the greatest albums of all time. Now, for me personally, this is probably not cracking my list. Top 50 albums of the 21st century. Anything below B tier, or anything B tier and below, is probably not cracking that list. Now, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, I would have it's a higher B than these three. It's definitely a way ahead of the gap for those three, but it's still not cracking that list for me. It's closer. It's a good album. It's an amazing album, honestly. Any album on here is probably amazing, but it's definitely missing. It has a couple of tracks that hold it back for me. And when you only got like 10 songs on an album and you got 3 of them that I don't care for, even if some of those other songs are some of the best of all time, it just doesn't average out the best. But definitely an important album, and was not surprised at all to see it at 1. That's just Complex being Complex. Now, Nothing Was the Same by Drake. Let's see. Gonna be honest, I might make some adjustments to the A tier if it continues to be this big, just to keep it interesting. But Nothing Was the Same is Drake's best album for me. Would be a fringe for this list. I mean, I think just based on, as I mentioned before, stuff like impact, magnitude, definitely would make it in general. But the quality of this album is also so high. This is Drake at his best cross section of rapping ability and rapping topics, where he's still rapping about being on the come up and chasing success at points, but also he's really giving you his authentic self. This is before Drake became pretty much a entity. This is when Drake was still a person before he was an image, and he's giving you a lot of his authentic self here, which makes the album itself his best in my opinion. Watch the Throne. I don't really know what Watch the Throne's doing here. I was honestly really surprised to see it on this list. It doesn't do anything for me really. Like, it is a good album for sure. High quality production, good rapping. It's just very underwhelming for what a Kanye West and Jay-Z collab project should have been. Another one I'm going to throw right into D tier, honestly, is Question Mark by XXXTentacion. I fully understand why this album is here. I'm not at all surprised that this album made this list. But, yeah. I mean, the quality is just not up to the standards with some of these other albums. Now we're moving on to Astro World. This is, I don't know, arguably Travis Scott's best album. When Utopia came out, I was like pretty hardcore that Utopia was his best, but now we're a couple years removed from Utopia, and I kind of feel similar about that album as I do to Astro and as I do to Rodeo. So, I'll go top of B tier with it. I don't think it would be very close on if it would make a top 50 of the decade. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a list of that of my own at one point. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments for sure, because I'd be interested to see what I would do with Travis Scott, because it's hard to imagine not having an album by him on that list, but also, like, all of his albums are, like, fringe being that good. Being good enough to do that. They're great, consistent albums, but all 3, Rodeo, Utopia, and Astroworld, have a couple tracks that hold the project back from reaching a certain level. Thug Motivation 101 by Jeezy. This is definitely another one that kind of falls into that category of impact over maybe deservedness. Now, I don't think this is a bad album. I just don't think it's Jeezy's best. It's a highly, highly influential, though, for when it came out. Next up, we get The Carter 2 by Lil Wayne. Weezy F Baby. No doubt you have to have a Weezy album on this list. Now for me personally, I'd probably go with The Carter 3 for this. I think that's Wayne's best album, but I think the Carter 2 would have just as good of a shot of making this list because they're not too far separated quality wise. But yeah, I mean it's right there. I think this is a great pick by Complex regardless. Graduation, gonna piss some people off with this one because a lot of people would look at this and be, oh, this is a lock. Honestly, a lot of people probably think Complex should have had this higher. But for me personally, and I re-listened to this album recently too, like last month. Just does not, just does not hit those highs for me. The back half of this album is really impressive. Kanye does some really special stuff on this album. There is no doubt about that. But it is the whole project itself is just not up to that level of quality. So yeah, it's going into C. An overrated album, in my opinion, for sure. Next up, The Black Album by Jay-Z. This would definitely be a shout for that list. I mean, I think anything in S&A has definitely got a good chance at making it to the promised land of my personal top 50 albums of the 21st century. The Black Album is a fucking awesome album. It's one that grows on me as time goes on. I think Jay absolutely made a very well-rounded project here, and honestly feels like he's at his hungriest at certain points. And I mean, just a really great, just traditional rap album. I mean, this shit is awesome. Next up, 2014 Forest Hills Drive. This is another one that I'm about to piss some people off with. Honestly, I feel pretty much exactly the same about 2014 Forest Hills Drives that I do Graduation. There's some really high quality, amazing tracks, but the whole album is just not up to par. There are bad to weak songs on here. There's unmemorable songs, and it feels a little, both albums also feel a little too self-righteous. Just for me personally. 2014 Forest Hills, good album. Just never been super crazy on it. Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent. Again, impact-wise, this is one that makes total sense. I'd have a hard time leaving it off of my list, but quality-wise, it's not even up to the level of like a Stankonia, House of Balloons. Nothing was the same. It just doesn't have that depth to it. Not that DS2 has depth to it, which is also right over here in this category, but I think DS2 is more consistent and more replayable and maybe more impactful, where I feel like Get Rich or Die Trying is maybe a product of the impact of Eminem and of Dr. Dre, where Future's DS2 creates an impact that shifts the fucking direction that hip-hop is going into. But yeah, it would be hard to leave that one off. Damn, maybe I should move a couple of these up to S, because I got nothing in S. I know a couple going into S, but they might not be people's favorite picks. Next up, Hell Hath No Fury by Clips. This album is awesome. Been loving this the past couple of years. I will say this is an album that I'd think if Let God Sort 'Em Out did not come out this year, this would not have made the list. This is a fucking great album nonetheless. Now, man, I'm at a crossroads with this one, I'm not gonna lie. Because, like, Astroworld is, like, kind of tight to a couple of these albums. I'm just thinking, like, yeah, I would say that's fair. I think, though, I think House of Balloons gotta go down to B. I'm not gonna lie. I think I might have put that a little high up. I don't know if it'd be really in contention for this, especially when The Weeknd has 3 albums that I think are just as good, if not better. But anyways, T-Pab to Pimp a Butterfly, surprisingly low on this list from what I expected from Complex. Now, this will be our first ask because I still think that this is a pretty fucking awesome album. I think this is one of the best of all time, one of the deepest and most important of all time. And people say that it's not a fun album to listen to, but I would rather spin this right now than any other album we got up here. Now, that's just me personally. I'm a big fan, so. Usher Confessions. I've not heard this album in full. Know a couple tracks. Same with When We Die, Where Do We Go, or this Billie Eilish album. Back to Black by Amy Winehouse falls into the same category. Can you guys tell that I'm mainly into hip hop? Sex Love Future Sounds by Justin Timberlake. Also haven't heard. Thank You Next by Ariana Grande. Have not heard in full. Mama's Gun by Erykah Badu. Have not heard in full. Anti. Purpose. Have also not listened to these albums in their entirety. Same with Beyonce. Go to the comments right now. Let me know, are these albums worth the hype of being on this list? Because if they are, I will get them queued up on my list and give them a listen. Because, I mean, they're getting very high praise from Complex, but I want you guys to let me know in the comments if you think they are worth that listen, if they are worth that time of day. Next up, Live Love ASAP by A$AP Rocky. I was surprised to see that they put this album on this list, but I was not complaining about it in the slightest. Now, this is definitely a great and influential project, so I see why they have it here. But I don't know if I would go that high with it. A$AP Rocky, for me personally, has albums that I like better, and I don't think would crack my top 50 albums of the 21st century list because of that. Next up, Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler, the Creator. This is like the most recently released album on this list, which I find to be interesting, especially considering it's the only Tyler album. I would have expected Igor or Flower Boy in this spot, but I'm not complaining because I agree. I think this is Tyler's best album, and I think because of it being Tyler, the Creator's best album, that it would crack for me a greatest list, but the best list, I don't know. Because I have a hard time thinking about those track lists and even thinking that it's better than Astroworld. Like, honestly, I don't know. And I think Tyler, the Creator's great. I just, it's a certain gear that he doesn't hit for me that some of these other rappers, I should say, do. But it's still a great album nonetheless. Goodbye and Good Riddance. To the Same Reason question mark by XXXTentacion is here. Rest in peace to both Juice WRLD and XXXTentacion, but yeah, not making the list for me. Man on the Moon by Kid Cudi. Influence and impact aside, I think this album definitely is cracking my list. Definitely deserves a shout. I think not in another life, a couple of years ago, this would have been an easy S for me. But that S is an exclusive category. But yeah, Man on the Moon is just a beautiful, beautiful album listening experience. Like Higher's maybe not the greatest song, but man, talk about a pick me up. You can never go wrong with Man on the Moon by Kid Cudi. Next up, The Blueprint by Jay-Z. This is taking over top of S, at least at the moment. This is Jay's second best album for me. Ye's production on here is fucking impeccable. Every song is anthemic and feels so important and boastful. And I mean, this is an album you can't not have a good time when listening to it. It's amazing. Next up, Trap Music by T.I. This would not be my T.I. album of choice for this list. This is definitely another impact pick and importance pick. Now, again, I would have some T.I. representation on this list if I was doing the best of the 21st century, but it would not be Trap Music. There's a couple that I think might come before it. But it's still a great album. It holds up well today, and when you listen to this album, you can tell where and why trap music sounds the way that it does. T.I. pretty much pioneered it with that project. Next up, Mad Villainy. I don't know if I think I put it below To Pimp a Butterfly, but they're pretty much on the same level. Very interchangeable. Incredible, incredible album. Super consistent front to back. Nothing that's really like it in the span of hip hop until Doom did this with Madlib. I mean, this album is incredible. If you haven't heard it, do yourself a favor and check it out. Next up, Invasion of Privacy. Haven't heard that one either, but that is one I actually do have. That and Voodoo are the two albums of these ones I haven't heard that I got queued up to listen to sometime in the near future. God's Son by Nas, I think, is an awesome shout because I think on a list like this you have to have Nas representation. But God's Son would not be the one for me. I think this album is great. I think it's underrated. There are incredible, incredible Nas songs here. Made You Look, Heaven, Dance. I mean, like, Nas really gives you some of his best career songs. Thug's Mansion, the song with Tupac, the Possum Strike, that song is also amazing. Nas is really like getting introspective and he's rapping about his faith and about his relationship with life and death. And I mean, this album is really special. But in the pantheon of Nas albums, there are a couple from past 1999 that I think would have a better shot at making this list. King's Disease 2, King's Disease 3, Life is Good. All kind of surpass God's Son a little bit for me because even though God's Son might have the highest highs of any of those albums, it also does suffer the most lows. It I think is the least consistent, which is tough to say as much as I love Nas. Diplomatic Immunity. Now this is an album I literally heard for the first time probably like a week ago or maybe a few weeks ago. I love Cameron. Dipset is cool and I'm excited to visit this project more. I don't see it quite at that level. I know it's very influential, and I think it makes sense. I'm not surprised that. Actually, no, I was surprised. I think it was cool to see this shouted, but I would have had Purple Haze over this a million times over because Purple Haze I think is a way better album. But I digress. It was still a cool project. So much fun by Young Thug. This one definitely surprised me seeing here. Not that I'm complaining necessarily. I don't think. It's not that I don't think it should be here. I was just surprised that it made it. But yeah, Jeffrey would maybe be in contention for making this list for me. Slime Season 3 as well might be. So Much Fun is not quite up to that level. But it's still a great album and is surprisingly consistent for how long it is. Marshall Mathers LP. Now this was the one that was number 5 on Complex list. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. Eminem's rapping is really good, and it's deeply personal in this stuff. But there's songs on here that I have a hard time listening to, and even like, ew, get this fucking Hurts ad off the screen. What was I saying? Eminem is just like a rapper who even his best works like this, the Eminem Show Slim Shady LP. Even at their best, I have a hard time resonating with because of like the grotesqueness and the violence and stuff, and like, not that I'm opposed to those things, but it's just like there's a level of replayability that factors into my opinions on music, and it's like I don't want to throw on MMLP ever. There's no songs there that I'm like that I really have in rotation at any point. It's one of those albums, and there are a lot of albums like that that are a marvel to listen to. Atrocity Exhibition by Danny Brown is one that comes to mind that should have been on this list that I also view in that light as an album that you kind of marvel at as a piece of art. But when you factor in replayability, it does knock the score down a little bit, at least for me personally, because it's just like this is of the point of the artist to listen to it, and it just does not do that. Anyways, we got a few more before we finish this up. Damn by Kendrick Lamar. Top of A. I know there are probably going to be a lot of people talking about Kendrick glazing maybe and stuff, but I don't hide my biases. I'm a huge Kendrick Lamar fan. He's one of my favorite rappers. That doesn't mean that I don't think that his albums are genuinely some of the best and most important of all time. Damn is a great exploration of Kendrick's self through different aspects of himself. He takes different qualities, ideas, and uses them to write introspective tracks based around that feeling, emotion, or just a general idea topic. And I think it's a beautiful album. There are a couple songs here that aren't the strongest, but the highs here absolutely kick ass. I'd also say the Black Album might be above the Eminem Show, but that's besides the point. Take Care. I'll be honest, this is one that I owe a re-listen to because it's been some years. But from what I remember about this album, this could go on down over here with 2014 Forest Hills Drive. This is an obligatory ad for Complex, but for me personally, again, an album that's not something I really am ever wanted to re-listen to. It's not in my rotation. Drake did his thing here. Has some great moments, but like I said, I think I do owe it another chance. Blonde. This one is tough because I honestly and truthfully believe Chanel Orange to be better. But this would still be on the list, no doubt. I mean, what an amazing, soulful, soul-touching album. I don't know anyone who's listened to Blonde and doesn't love it. And last one, unironically saving the best for last. Good Kid, Mad City would be the top of this list for me personally. This is really the best album of all time in my opinion. Now again, that's just my personal opinion, so don't take it the wrong way if you disagree. And if you do disagree, let me know in the comments what would be your best album of the 21st century. As you can see, my top 5 looks like 3 of them would be Kendrick. Now that's just based on this list. Realistically, might be only 2. Maybe just Good Kid. I don't know. I'd have to really think about it and put this list together. But let me know in the comments a couple things. What your favorite album of the 21st century is. How Complex did with their list. And if you want to see my own personal top albums of the 21st century, because that's definitely something I could whip up and put together. But yeah, got to talk about some really fun, controversial, and some of my favorite albums. Some low-key albums as well today with you guys. So had a blast doing that. And yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Your support is awesome and means a lot to me. And I hope that anyone who has made it to this point in this video is doing well, staying safe, and making the best of every day of their life, living it to the fullest. You guys are the best, and I will see you in the next ones. Thank you.